there and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to speak about a famous legend from the Isle of Man called the Moddey Dhoo, which is a phantom black dog in Manx folklore similar to Black Shuck found elsewhere in the Isles. The most famous sighting of one haunted Peel Castle on the west coast of the Isle of Man in the shape of a large black spaniel with curled shaggy hair, and had frequently been seen in every room but particularly the guard chamber. The guards on shift quickly realised that he did not belong to anyone there, and no one knew anything about him. There used to be a passage connected to Peel Castle crossing the church grounds, leading to the apartment of the captain of the guard, and the Moddey Dhoo was always seen coming from the passage at the end of the day when the candles were lit in the guard's room and the fire was burning bright. He would come down the dark passage and lay himself down by the hearth. He made no sound, but lay there until the break of day, when he would then get up and disappear back into the passage. The soldiers were at first terrified of him, but after some time they began to get used to the sight of him, and lost some of their fear, although they still looked upon him as if something more than mortal. While he was in the room, the men were always quiet and sober, and not a bad word was spoken among them. When the hour came to carry the key to the captain, two of them would always go together, since no man would face the dark passage alone. One night, some idiot had drunk more than was good for him, and he began to brag that he was not afraid of the dog. It was not even his turn to take the keys, but to show how brave he was, he said he would take them alone, and he dared the dog to follow him. "Let him come," he shouted. "I'll see whether he is a dog or a devil." His friends were terrified, and tried to hold him back, but he snatched the keys up and went out into the passage. The black dog yawned, slowly got up from the fire, and followed him down the passage. There was a deathly silence in the guard room. No sound was heard, apart from the dashing of the waves on the steep rocks below the castle. After a few minutes, there came from the dark passage the most unearthly screams and howls, but not a soldier dared move to see what was going on, and they just looked at each other in horror. They then heard steps, and the drunk idiot came back into the room. His face was very pale and twisted with fear. He spoke not a word, not then, never again. In 3 days he was dead, and nobody ever knew what happened to him that fearful night. And the little black dog was never seen again since that night either. There are at least another 3 Moddey Dhoo entities that have been sighted on the island, and each have been named for the location they were seen at. So including the one that we were speaking about already, you have the Moddey Dhoo of Peel Castle, the Moddey Dhoo of the Renab Road, the Moddey Dhoo of the Morag, and the Moddey Dhoo of the Dreamyajaskig. 2 men were going home for the day from their job at the North Laxey mine, and were walking along the high road near Ballagorry Chapel and the Doon School. A pooling of water came out of a field onto the road. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, with a drizzle of rain and weak moonlight showing through it. As the men walked along, they talked and spoke about their plans for the next day. Suddenly they heard a great splashing at the puddle just in front of them, and in the moonlight they made out the shape of an animal about the size of a Newfoundland dog coming out from the ditch to the side of the puddle. Its eyes were blazing like saucers, and it trotted over the road into the ditch opposite and downwards towards Craignamolt. It was black and half the size of a calf. Next shift they told the other miners about it, and an elderly miner turned and said, "Don't you know what that was?" "That was the Moddey Dhoo of the Renab Road." Another story about the small barren gully at the north end of the Morag Brows near Ramsey is about how it's haunted by a black dog, and possibly something else even more frightening. It is a spot that a few people, or so I am told, do not like to pass at night. Even since it's been more built up and a summer bungalow has been built at the mouth of it. It runs immediately below the old earthwork marked fort on the ordnance maps, which has been identified with an ancient place of execution named Cronkia or the Hill of Hanging. And again, at the southern limit of the Morgall parish, the locals were haunted by a particularly large specimen. Sometimes it was seen chasing an invisible prey over the edge of the cliff, and sometimes it would simply stalk and lurk by the roadside. Once a young boy was driving home from Ramsey with his father and they met this Moddey Dhoo. The horse shied and bucked violently, throwing them both out of the trap of the cart and bolted for home. As they were picking themselves up, they saw the dog leaping over the cliff edge, apparently into space, and disappearing into thin air. Another account at the opposite end of the parish told how an extremely evil spirit was sealed, a Dreamia Yeskig. It was such a violent demon that they had to call in Ewan Christian, who was a judge or deemster and landowner. The first time he addressed it, it told him to come again at night alone. He went the second time as requested, and after that it was never seen again, but what passed between the two of them he would never tell, and he was never the same man ever again after it had all ended. And that brings us to the end of the video. A little bit of spooky folklore from the Isle of Man, from several places and parishes. It's something that has been spoken about even today, although no one has had any recent sightings of the Moddey Dhoo. It's still a story that sort of passes around the locals, I guess. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.